Hey everybody, welcome back. So today we are going to be extending the sidewalk in my backyard. As you can see right now, when I come in the gate, I'm on dirt and I'm on grass. So we're going to fix all this today. I'm also going to go over if you've got a sidewalk in your backyard, you just want to branch off and make a new extension out to a different part of the yard. We're going to go over that too. So I guess step one is figure out a design and get our form made. All right, well, I'm kind of cheating a little bit. I've already got my form made. So my form is pretty simple. This is pretty basic for this because I'm just extending my sidewalk out. I basically just figured out where I was walking a whole bunch. I came in and out of the gate a few times, figured out where my feet land, and that was pretty much how I figured out my length away from the sidewalk itself. Once I kind of had just everything roughly laying in place, I made a few marks and then cut everything to size and fastened it together. Now this angle here, I don't know what to tell you. It was just arbitrary. Whatever looked good to the eye, and that's where it landed. So there's nothing more to it than that. And this 2x4 here will give me 1.5 inch spacing away from my posts, so I don't have to worry about touching them. That's pretty much it. And then to hold the form in place, I just cut myself a whole bunch of stakes out of some 1x2. Now I had the material to do this, so I just cut my own, but you can also just buy some in store. It's not a big deal. Now to remove all of the dirt and grass, I'm going to use a couple of shovels. I'm going to use the spade to basically mark out all around the edges, my perimeter. And then I'm going to be using the square shovel here, basically laying it down flat, and I'm going to use this to basically shear off all the sod so I can get down underneath of it and pull up, hopefully kind of like mats of it. I got a lot of digging to do. Oh, once I was finally done all that digging, I could see if my form fit. And I had to make a couple little tweaks. It wasn't that big of a deal. But once it was sitting nice down in the hole, I could start to fasten it in place. So I'm going to pound in my stakes, one in each corner and one along my longest board there, just to prevent that board from bowing out, because I want that line to be straight and not round. So I'm hitting my stakes down, that way they're below the height of the form. That way they're not going to interfere when I'm screening later. And I'm leveling the form off with itself along the length, but I'm sloping the whole thing away from the garage. So after a few little tweaks, I could screw it to my stakes. With my form sitting pretty where I want it, I can start to add my base. Now, you can do this with sand, you can do this with rock. I find rock a little bit easier to work with, so that's what I'm going with. Now, this is just 3/4 inch to 1 inch natural crushed stone. I just got this from a local landscape supply center, and you just need enough to cover the dirt. I'm not building up any crazy thickness or height here. Just enough to cover the dirt is all I need. Then I'm just going to soft tamp it. Okie dokie. Now we can talk about what's probably the most controversial part of concrete. Reinforcement. At least if you're on the internet. Holy man, everybody's got an opinion. Anyway, easiest way to do this for what we're doing today is just this stuff here. It's about 4 by 7 feet. The squares are like 5 by 5-ish, somewhere in there. And we're basically just going to lay it in here and cut it to size. Now we want it to be a minimum of about 1.5 inches away from all the edges. I've got probably about 2 inches here, which is perfect. And I'm just going to cut this end off and then set it in there. And the easiest way to do that is just with a set of bolt cutters. Now, you can do this with rebar, with this stuff here. Just get some reinforcement in there. Don't overthink it. Literally perfect. I'll rip the tag off before the internet gets mad at me. There. Now, if you've watched me for any amount of time, you know I've poured enough concrete in a mixing tub mixed it by hand. I'm kind of over that. I'm done with it. So introducing this big boy. This should make this a whole lot easier because I got about 16 bags to mix up. And I really didn't feel like doing that by hand. This is a 2-bag, just electric mixer. Never used one of these before, so I guess we'll see how this goes. Can't be that bad. And it really wasn't that bad. Once we kind of had it sitting where we thought we wanted it, that was the hardest part. We just added some water to the mixer, added a couple of bags of concrete, intermittently add some more water until it kind of looked like oatmeal, let it mix for a couple of minutes, and dump it in the form. From there, I was pulling it to the far end with the garden hoe because this is just where it made the most sense to have the mixer, and it wasn't that big of a deal. And then we basically just rinse and repeat. This was a whole lot easier than mixing it by hand. And it gives you something to stare at. A couple of monkeys. Anyway, we literally just kept on rinse and repeat until we had a skim coat of concrete over the entire bed of rocks. And once we did, then we could add the reinforcement. This way it kind of put it somewhere in the middle of the slab. Make the internet happy, you know? That's also the correct way. From there, it was basically just finish off the bags until the form is full. The only thing I had to do now was just make sure I wasn't grabbing the reinforcement with the garden hoe, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Once it was full, we could go around the outside edges, tap it all with the hammer, make sure it settles a little bit, and then we could grab a straight board and start screeding the top of it. Go back and fill in any low spots, go back and screed over that again, and just keep working your way down until the entire thing's screeded off. Now, as we were screeding, we were pushing a little bit of concrete onto the existing sidewalk, but I just kept cleaning that up with a garden hoe, following the edge of the sidewalk, and it wasn't that big of a deal. Okie dokie. So it has been about 45, just over 45 minutes now since we poured the slab, and most of the water is dried off. So it's starting to firm up, but it is still very soft. But that's actually perfect because this is about the time where we want to hit it with steel first. So I've just got a concrete edging tool right here, and I'm just going to go around, knock down all the edges. All right, now when it comes to edging, it's pretty simple. Obviously rounded edge out. I'm just going to take and sort of dig it in and cut a line all along the edge first. Then I'm going to tip it, push this end down, lift up the leading edge going back the other way. I'm not putting a ton of pressure. Oops, kind of pulled something up there. That might happen. Get back to the other side, push down on the now back edge, lift up the leading edge. Again, this is just the first pass. We're going to refine it quite a bit on the next step, but and just sort of trail off. And this part's going to be interesting right alongside the existing sidewalk, but we'll give her a go. Holy obnoxious Batman. Now, with this, I'm not pushing hard at all. I am mostly just sort of letting the weight of the trowel do the work. You don't have to worry about it being perfect because we're still going to come back out to this later on. I think before it gets any darker, I'm going to use this guy here too. This just kind of adds like an expansion joint just to match these ones here on the sidewalk. And I'm going to pretty much just center it in between the existing ones because I don't have a good way to line these up, so I'm just going to roll with that.
And I'm just going to eyeball it. There we go. And now one more time back around with the round edging tool, just because I made marks in it.
A little while later, I can come back out and start doing my refining steps. Now, the slab has set up considerably so far. You notice all the water's gone off the top. So I can start pushing a lot harder with my tools to get rid of all the marks that I left on the final step before. But it's still soft enough now where I can manipulate it and get my final design on. So I can push a lot harder to get rid of all the imperfections from last time, but because it's firm enough now, it's not really going to take on any new imperfections, but however I leave it from here on out is how it's going to stay. So I just want to make sure that I take my time and get it looking perfect. And keep in mind, I'm not a concrete sidewalk refining expert here by any stretch, so this is something anybody can do. A little while later still, we can come back and broom the finish. Now, in order to know if you should do this or not, you push your finger into the slab, and if you leave a fingerprint but no indent, then you're good to go. Now, I've just got a little concrete brush, again, I found in the concrete aisle, and I'm doing a wavy pattern. Usually it's straight, but my existing sidewalk is wavy. And this broom finish will just give it enough texture so it's not slippery. By the time the next day rolls around, the slab has set up plenty that we can pull the form off. So, using the claw end of a hammer, I'm going to slam it into the stakes, and it's a super easy way to pull them up. And I'm just going to do the same thing to pull the form up. Unless you got gorilla paws and you just want to get in there and manhandle it, but mine was kind of wedged in there, so this was way easier.
Okay, now let's pretend we just want to branch off of our existing sidewalk and just continue on into the yard and just pour new sidewalk to match the existing stuff. What do you do? So basically where I would start is I would measure my existing sidewalk itself. In my case, I got 2 feet. So then I would put 2 feet between the inside of my form blocks to match this one. However, just remember that you have to dig out wider than the actual sidewalk itself to account for the form to sit down inside. Now, another good idea is to actually go ahead and take a hammer drill. Once you've dug all this stuff out, and you've got down the depth of your existing sidewalks, probably about 3 to 4 inches, go ahead and take some, this is a 1 foot long piece of 3/8 inch thick rebar. You can just buy this at the store in these lengths already. So you're gonna use a masonry bit, drill your hole, hammer these into the concrete as best you can. It's gonna take some force. And then once you pour your new concrete, that's going to join the 2 halves of your old slab and your new slab together. And as everything moves around, it's going to move in tandem, and you're not going to have gaps open up either because it's going to hold them tight. So that's basically how you do that. You just follow all the rest of the steps, digging it out and making your forms and continue on. So it's actually not that hard, but this is a good idea. Now you may be wondering, but Jesse, why didn't you do that over there with your current slab? I'll tell you. So right here is my problem spot. So if you notice, this piece of concrete is different from this one right here. It's moving up and down independently because this piece is elevated. So none of these are actually joined together. They're moving independently, which can cause problems. So if I was to put rebar here, over there, say here and here, basically what's going to happen is this slab, and this slab are all going to be moving independently of each other, and that could cause all sorts of problems like cracking, and they just end up ripping each other apart. Because new concrete doesn't stick to old concrete, this seam, even though they're butted up to each other, once they decide to move, they're just going to sort of flex on each other and let go, and it'll be fine. So yeah, that's why. Because I have 3 independent slabs here now that can move without busting each other to pieces. So the more you know. Anyway. All right, now it has been about an hour and a half since I pulled the form off. And you can really see now that the slab is starting to dry out. This existing stuff and this new one are almost the same color. This one's a little splotchy yet, but it's still wet. It's not a big deal. But now that the sides are exposed and allowed to breathe, it's drying out a lot quicker. Now we need to think about curing and sealing the thing. So you have a couple options there. One, there is A bunch of sealers on the market. Read the instructions. Those may want you to wait 14 days to a month before you apply them. If you don't apply them, or if you apply it too soon, you can actually end up having problems with the slab and it'll actually crack because it won't be allowed to breathe. This stuff right here is a curing seal. It's made by Quikrete. You can put it on while the slab is still curing. It'll actually aid the curing process. So we can put this stuff on literally the next day and jump right to it. So I've just got a little 4-inch paint roller here, and we can just brush it on, and that's really all it takes. If you're not gonna do a sealer on top, I would recommend just doing like a water seal or a water cure, which is basically just coming out every 8 hours or so for the next couple of weeks and just flooding the entire slab lightly, like very lightly. You don't want any crazy high pressure water, you just want it wet. And that will help the curing process because it'll slow everything down. For this, we literally just dump it on and brush it on with a 4-inch little paint roller. And that's all we got to do. And it goes quite a long way. You don't need a whole lot. What the sealer is going to do is it's going to protect the concrete from staining and discoloration and stuff over time, especially if things sit on it. And it's going to help protect it from just any sort of weird weather you might have that concrete just might not be happy dealing with. So again, not necessary, but if you want it to last and look good while it's lasting, this is a good idea. And just like I started the video, I'm gonna end the video, except this time on my slab. So I hope you guys learned something from this and picked something up. Maybe even you realize that that was a ton of work, you're just not gonna do it. Cause I mean, let's be real, it was 1,000 pounds, just over 1,000 pounds of concrete. Like, it is a lot of work, but the process isn't all that hard. So I hope you learned something either good or bad from this. Either way, you learned something. If you did learn something, I don't normally ask for these things, but I don't know if you've been following any of the drama and controversy and BS that's going on with YouTube right now. But basically the gist of it is views are down, revenue's down, everything's just bad right now. So again, I don't normally ask for these things, but if you just want to help the channel out, a free way to do it, literally just to comment and a thumbs up, show some engagement on the video, ask some questions, or just say awesome or I'm an idiot. Whatever works. Engagement's engagement. If there's a new hype button down there too, if you want to navigate all the hieroglyphics that are all the buttons down there, the hype button is apparently a really big thing right now. It's only on mobile, but whatever. That would be amazing too. And if you really liked myself or the content, or you think that I've earned it, there's a thanks button down there as well. You can make a one-time donation. It would be like unbelievable, but I'm not going to beg for that because I know everything's tough right now. And if you wanted to throw some money at the screen but get something for yourself, there's links to all my plans down there too, so you can build something amazing for yourself, which would just be awesome. Love that stuff. So thank you very much, you guys, for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you liked everything about this. I hope you like myself, and I will see you in the next one. Later.